This is Things You Might Not Have Heard, and I am Jay Cleveland Payne, and in the queue for you today, I have 8 stories from yesterday, our Wednesday, if you will, for the Thursday edition of this show. We cover politics, information, current events, and pop culture news, and these are all stories that were vetted by U.S. Conversational. On the docket, Linda McMahon via Donald Trump, Wile E. Coyote via some movie magic, and Jackie Robinson and his career in the military, which for a while got erased, literally, from all existence. We'll explain the vetting process after ending all the headlines. 8 total, those 3 plus 5 more. But I want to remind you right now that we have a website, our home, if you will, online at thisistheconversationproject.com, where you can find full information about all the offerings that the Conversation Project has, and email us with your questions, your comments, all the things at theconversationinbox@gmail.com. I said it was Thursday, but it actually is Thursday, March the 20th, 2025. 8 stories on the way, no particular order as they're being presented, but we'll explain to you sort of some bit of nuance of why they got here, and of course, when we get to the headline, after headlines, into the teaser section, how the whole thing works in just a bit. So hang on, we'll get there in just a moment. Right now, our first story of the morning goes to Linda McMahon, or technically Donald Trump, who told Linda McMahon to put herself out of a job, and she's about to do that. Trump is going to sign an executive order today to shut down the U.S. Department of Education. Now, this is going to happen, expect to be today, if not probably tomorrow, fulfilling a long-standing conservative objective to get rid of the Department of Education. Move aims to transfer education authority back to the individual states, allowing for localized control over crucial policies. Now, this is a full dismantling of the department that really needs congressional approval because it needs a congressional act to actually put into place. So you got to go actually get Congress to vote on this eventually. But putting the work in to basically not have it effective, that's something that anybody can do in charge, and Linda McMahon's job is to do that right now. Opponents are arguing that eliminating the Department of Education could exacerbate educational disparities, particularly affecting low-income and marginalized communities. The department oversees about $1.6 trillion in student loan portfolios and administers funding for various programs, including supporting students with disabilities. Now, disbanding the agency may disrupt essential services, leading to increased inequity in educational opportunities. Shutdown faces legal and political challenges, of course. Democratic state attorney generals are already filing lawsuits to keep this from going. Because here's the reality of the Department of Education. They don't really manage the schools, which is why they're trying to put the decisions in the hands of the states, which unfortunately aren't doing so great in doing decisions some places. Most of the states that actually get the most funding from the Department of Education and basically from the government are states that tend to vote for red things and tend to vote for themselves and things that aren't really good for themselves, vote against their interests. They're literally lower in education, so they get more funding. And this funding goes for particularly schools, primary schools, elementary schools, whatnots, that cover things like special education or English as second language programs, or folks that have disabilities. And in colleges, of course, Pell Grants and student loans and those things like that. Without the proper handling of the Department of Education to make sure things are equitable, not necessarily fair, but equitable, things will be a whole lot less fair and equitable going forward. Now, right now, we're seeing a bunch of crunches where you cannot actually choose to do income-based repayments on student loans. That's going to be a crunch on a lot of folks having to go back and repay things that they're not paying for a while. And of course, there's a lot of rumblings in higher education where I actually work. What do these things actually mean for folks who are getting their Pell Grants and getting their loans and money coming to our institutions? Because part of the money comes from the states, the governments, to make things work. This is a bigger deal. It's going to be a really big, consequences be damned type thing going forward once it's done. But this is something that Trump has promised to give the states more decision in their states' rights in education. I know here in Arkansas, we just had a bill passed for our education for school-age kids. And it ain't great, but it's what we have. I'm going to stop there. Let's move on to story number 2, because we actually have that story in the queue for today. So if you want to talk about it, you guys can let us know. But story number 2 deals with the backlash of the Doge work that Donald Trump has pledged for Elon Musk to do. And now not particularly, but his cars, his dealerships, his Teslas are targets. Right now, we're looking at one particular one in Las Vegas where Teslas were set on fire and shot with guns and is being basically dealt with as a terrorist attack. This happening a couple days ago. Targeted attack occurred at Tesla Collision Center in Las Vegas, resulting in significant damage to multiple vehicles. Approximately 2:45 a.m., an individual dressed in black approached the facility, dropping Molotov cocktails on various cars and disarming firearms at other cars. 2 vehicles being fully engulfed in flames. Others had bullet damage. The assailant also spray painted the word to resist on the center's doors. Incident is part of a broader series of violent acts against Tesla, targeting them and their properties nationwide, which do coincide with CEO Elon Musk's work with DOGE, Department of the Department of Government Efficiency, to do what he's doing. Now, as I said, Attorney General Pam Bondi has classified these as terrorist attacks, domestic terrorism, emphasizing the severity of such political motivated violence. Now, you don't have to be anything that's really organized be classified as domestic terrorism, so it's pretty easy to say that. But a lot of things coming down from essentially the top, Donald Trump, who said this was terrorism. Vandalism, yes. Terrorism, we will see going forward as the Department of Defense and FBI are now in investigation for this in particular and various other attacks across the nation. The threats are escalating. Security measures are being bumped up at Tesla places, but one of the good things that we know is because Teslas are filled with cameras and places have cameras everywhere, it may help in figuring out who some of these people are involved in these attacks. And they are attacks. They are bad. They are not something we should be doing. But they're happening because, just like I said, when someone speaks out on something and the death threats come, who are these people who think death threats are actually the right thing to do? Who are these people who think that blowing up Teslas are the right thing to do? Hopefully we'll find out and we'll have less people doing these things that are obviously not the right things to do. Let's move on to story number 3 for this morning. And this one is getting some updated news because right now we're hearing about protests over this in Istanbul, in Turkey, as Turkey detained Erdogan's main rival, the opposition to him, who may run from in the next election. And they're calling it a coup, basically a coup from beforehand, keeping someone from running against Erdogan, Istanbul Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu, before he can actually run and have a chance to oppose Mr. Erdogan in his election. They have arrested him. They are holding him hostage, and they're holding him hostage. It might be a bit of a Freudian slip, but they're doing that. They're holding him back. Charges are in corruption and ties to the Kurdistan Workers' Party, a group designated as terrorist by Turkey, which would be something you could probably arrest someone for if it wasn't seen as some way to sort of skirt the opposition. The arrests conducted during the early morning raids targeted over 100 individuals, including journalists and business figures. So it wasn't just him, it was more folks. The Republican People's Party, CHP, that's the affiliation with İmamoğlu, denounced the arrest as a coup against the next president, seeing words like that, asserting that the charges are politically motivated to suppress ahead of the upcoming elections. The leader of that party called for a nationwide protest, and that's what's happening right now, protesting against Erdogan and his forces who have kidnapped the mayor of Turkey, mayor of Istanbul. The detention has ignited widespread protests, as we said, across the entire nation. Authorities are imposing bans on public gatherings and restricting access to social media platforms to curb the unrest. Economically, the Turkish lira has plummeted to all-time low, but Istanbul Stock Exchange experienced some declines, reflecting investor concerns on the nation's political stability. Erdogan's been the president for quite some time, I think over 20 years, based on running elections that way, so you have that going for him. But this is an actual challenge to his power, as the way people are thinking, the way people are acting these days are different. So whether it's just we need a change or we need a change from this guy, it looks like a change is going to come or was going to come until this happened. We'll see if there'll be a rebound from this one from Erdogan's standpoint, or if the party can get their man back and get them into the election and get a win coming forward. Frontier Airlines is trolling hard against Southwest Airlines, as they're offering free check bags to go directly at Southwest, who dropped their policy. We'll drop it officially in a few days. We dropped it in press releases a few days ago. A move that is strategic to basically get in some more travelers. Frontier Airlines has launched a promotion offering free check bags on select flights this summer. The initiative comes after Southwest Airlines, of course, had the decision to actually discontinue its longstanding policy for 2 free check bags for all passengers. It's time limited, though. You can get a free check bag, 1 free check bag, 1 carry-on bag, and a seat selection in the flight flexibility as part of the economy bundle. But you have to book by next week, March 24th, using the promo code FREEBAG, with travel dates between May 28th and August 18th. So it's a short window to fly and a very short window to get booked to get this free bag promotion. Although They may keep it if it works. You know, if something works is there, they'll see if it's a big cash grab right now. Big folks for are getting big into some customers right now, and whether it does do a little damage to Southwest and maybe some other carriers, but it's going to happen quickly. Now, of course, Southwest isn't really completely getting rid of all its baggage claims. If you are one of the high-level folks of Rapid Rewards level A, you still get 2 free check bags. If you are a preferred member or whatever, you get 1 check bag going forward. Just the rest of the crew, the rest of the folks, everybody else is normal, unless you have a credit card with Southwest on it, get no check bags going forward. Will this work? Probably not. It will be a nice little blip. We're talking about it. It's a news article. But the Frontier CEO, Barry Biffle, emphasized that airlines' commitment to customer value with the quote, "Some airlines are walking away from what travelers love, but we're running towards it." Now, remember, this is a temporary promotion, and it only runs till the 24th, which, as by my math, is literally the end of the weekend. So I said next week. Nope, it's still the end of the weekend. So, yeah. You don't have much time to get in on this policy, so get in there and make sure you have a flight in that window, because after August 18th, for the moment, you don't get this perk. Quick pause from the news that has been covered that you guys said were conversation. We'll explain that in just a bit. 4 stories down, we'll give you a full explanation. And a quick stop to ask for your assistance. The Conversation Project runs on you and runs on you in various ways. In a bit, I will do the whole pledge for money thing, because that's what creators have to do to make sure to stay alive. This is the pledge for views, for likes and shares. Literally, we want you to like this video. If you're enjoying the news content that we're giving to you, enjoy the commentary, the level that is, so like it. And if I see a like on it, I know I'm doing well. That's one way I can get more feedback going forward. Email us another way. Also, the algorithm thinks it's doing well, and it will show it to more people in the feeds they have there going forward. If you know people who would enjoy this directly, share it with them and tell them, hey, this guy is on the nose what he's talking about. Or, hey, this guy's an idiot. You should watch him and laugh at him. I will take hate watches. Trust me. They all pay as well. Share it with other folks who like or maybe not like me so much, and maybe they will like and share it as well to grow the News Nerd Nation going forward. The way to really know what's happening is to subscribe. Now, we use YouTube as our main metric for growth, because it has to be the main a metric we use YouTube. We are just under 2,000 subscribers, which is not a lot, but it's enough to get us monetized, enough to give us a little bit of extra Google juice out there. And we're going closer and closer, basically doubling that number for next year. We got to 1,000 late last year. We want to get to 3,000 by the end of this year, because we think we can. We'd like it even bigger, but we, one step at a time. So subscribe to wherever you're getting this for whatever feed is best for you. Even go to our website and see some places that offer slightly different things. We have audio podcasts. We have those checked as well. We have an email newsletter. I'd love more folks with an email newsletter. And the short takes on TikTok are very popular. So check that out as well for some extra short takes that we have now that we have some new technology in place. Like, share, and subscribe so we know we are growing and learning and getting the best we can from you, so we can get the best we can out of us to give to you. Let's move on to story number 5 this morning. And in a shocking turn of events, Coyote versus Acme has been rescued after Warner Brothers shelved the complete film. The live-action animated hybrid film Coyote versus Acme has been revived. A potential path to audiences has been shown after Warner Brothers shelved it in 2023, November to be exact. The studio had initially canceled the completed film, opting for a $30 million tax write-off, decision that sparked significant backlash from the creative community. Folks that were in it and folks that wanted to see it on a film that was done, well, Warner Brothers decided they wanted to save the money on the write-off. It stars Wile E. Coyote, obviously enough. Also, John Cena, Will Forte, and Laura Condor, centering on a lawsuit that Wile E. Coyote has against the Acme Corporation for its defective products. Maybe they actually wanted to shelve it because it was a way to keep the man from being attacked by the little man, this time being Wile E. Coyote. Of course, the film was shelved, basically left alone after it was done. Warner Brothers permitted the filmmakers to actually seek some distribution avenues, and recent report says that Ketchup Entertainment in the negotiations require those rights valued over $50 million, which would pay for the write-off plus some to get it out there. Now, the development offers hope for fans to see this film because it tested positive with the audience. So all the people who got to see it thought it was great. All the stars that are in it and saw pieces of it said this was wonderful, but it's a piece of good art that isn't seen. Another movie that was shelved by Warner Brothers was the Batgirl movie, which was also essentially 95% done, which people said was looking pretty good, and because it was 95% done, should have been put onto the theater shelves as opposed to the backlot shelves. We'll see if there's a way to resell some of those other movies as well, resurface them going forward. Unintended consequences, or maybe intended consequences, but an unintended consequence is particular pieces that are being shelved from archives because of DEI. The article we have here, and things are actually coming back to normal in some cases, was where Jackie Robinson's article on Major League Baseball's legend page on his Army history was removed from the Department of Defense website. Jackie Robinson, one of the greatest baseball players of all time, a man who literally defined the game of baseball and broke the color barriers way, way back in the day, actually has a very storied and a very good story of his service of military during World War II. A lieutenant in the Army at the time had a really big and very complicated story, which involved him being court-martialed, having that court-martial overturned. But because he was dealing with the legal process, Jackie Robinson could have went and fought in World War II, like on the front lines. He didn't go with his unit because he was dealing with a court-martial based off of, let's say, some schadenfreude. Let's just leave it at that. But the action to pull his page from the Department of Defense websites, from their nomenclature, dealing with diversity, equity, and inclusion, because Jackie Robinson was black. Let that sit for a minute. Jackie Robinson and many other things that were pulled. Of course, Tuskegee Airmen documentation has been pulled, and some of it's coming back. Things on women and their work has been pulled and coming back. One of the coolest things I thought about World War II were the Navajo Code Talkers. I did like 3 reports over a span of 5 years in grade school over the Navajo Code Talkers, because that was the most awesome thing out there. They were pulled. Their information was pulled. This is not higher because they were least qualified, so they put them in there because they had to fill up ranks. They were the only people qualified to do code talking with the Navajo because they're the only people to do that. The unbreakable code from World War II. Jackie Robinson was a very qualified person that, unfortunately, because of misgivings and mistreatment, didn't get to show his qualification. I guess it's a good thing he didn't get a chance to go overseas in that case, but it was something else there. He had an assignment in what was the 761st Black Panthers Tank Battalion, and was one of the things that really was there, because he was literally told to move to the back of a bus while traveling with his fellow soldiers and their spouses, because he talked to a white spouse of another lieutenant. He actually had one of the most interesting things about what was going on, a story there, and I'm really rambling, so bear with me. Robinson wrote a letter to his commander because he needed better facilities for the black soldiers that he was in charge of. The commander, just seeing lieutenant, didn't realize he was black, dropped a bunch of N-bombs in the letter, basically saying they're not going to get it, and going back and forth, because all he saw was Lieutenant Robinson, which is where things are supposed to work out. Realized that it was not just a General Lieutenant Robinson. It's a story that goes in past, a story that gets lost, a story that goes back and forth. Now, whether you should feel bad about that or not, that's beside the point. You shouldn't. It's history. It happened. You go with it. You say, wow, that was kind of bad. We shouldn't do that anymore. And then not do it anymore. The whole sort of young white people feel bad about what happened in the past. Just don't do it anymore. How about that? They don't really, trust me, your kids don't really feel sad about things that happened, about all those things in the past that were atrocities. They just like, y'all did that? Wow, that's weird. And they move on from that one. The ones that actually feel bad about it, those are the ones that I feel bad for now, because the way they interpret their things are a little off. These next 2 stories are a little off as well. And bear with me, because redemptions and things like that are big stories. But for whatever reason, these stories got a whole lot of engagement, so they pushed ahead other stories. There were other stories to talk about. But on a day where there were fewer Trump and Deutsch things to really go into, everything's were basically lawsuits and catch-ups and to go there. Nothing really advanced the story of the week. We had spaces for these 2 stories. Kanye's coming up, and Kanye's big, so we'll do him again as well. But right now, we're starting with Jonathan Majors and Meagan Good. As they actually get married, they tie the knot after being engaged for months. not really the biggest story in the world, but you guys found it conversational. Actors Jonathan Majors and Meagan Good have married in a private ceremony in their Los Angeles home 4 months after announcing their engagement in November. The intimate event was officiated by Majors' mother, a pastor, with only their mother's presence as witnesses. Majors is 35, Good is 43. They began their relationship in May of 2023 amidst legal challenges that Majors was dealing with, involving charges of assault against his ex-girlfriend, Grace Jabari. Good provided steadfast support during this period, attending the court appearance alongside Majors. And in December 2023, Majors was convicted of misdemeanor assault and harassment, leading to his removal from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where he was portraying Kane the Conqueror, the future of the franchise, and of course being wiped away from all mentions whatsoever. Despite those challenges, the couple bond strengthened, and they culminated at a gala at the Ebony Power 100 Gala in November of 2024. And their marriage marks a new chapter in their lives, with Majors expressing profound love and gratitude for Good's unwavering support. Majors' career not quite back up to speed yet, but his life, it seems to be going better with the support of Meagan Good. So we, of course, offer up lots of love for this union and hope that things go well with that one. Hope that, they find happiness and kindness, and Majors find some way to reestablish a career going forward. We are shaking heads at Kanye West, who yesterday we talked about releasing a track with his daughter and Diddy on it. One guy in jail, one person's daughter, and the fight with his ex-wife, Kim Kardashian, to squash that. Right now, he's sparking another beef. Kanye West, or Ye, if you will, has some disturbing social media rants targeting Beyonce, Jay-Z's kids. They children's. West has ignited controversy with these social media posts targeting the children of Beyonce and Jay-Z. The post questions the mental capacity of their 7-year-old twins, Rumi and Sir Carter, and made derogatory remarks about the competition through their conception through in vitro fertilization. Although he deleted the initial post, he later reposted them, which shows that, oh no, he's determined to really get this work going forward. Primary concern was avoiding account suspension rather than expressing remorse. Widespread condemnation. Tina Knowles, Beyonce's mother, of course, reached out to basically talk about, you ain't talk about my baby like that. She responded on Instagram expressing her faith that no harm would come to her family. Kim Kardashian West, also West's ex-wife, expressed being appalled by his comments, emphasizing that children should be off limits. I told you Kim's also already suing him because kids not being off limits. West, of course, this track called Bully has his 9-year-old son Saint West on it. I thought it had the daughter, but it's his son's on it with what's going on. And of course, a track with some issues with Diddy in it as well that he hopes to make a little money off of because his life is not that great. I would say that of people whose lives have been trashed by themselves, he's a guy who's trashing it pretty well. You can love Kanye for his genius in the past. You can love him for semi being a genius, but being kind of a real nutcase right now. But you got to figure out why we talk about this guy. And yes, I am the problem. I am bringing this up because I put him out there. You said we want to talk some Kanye because he's conversational. We're doing it because it's a news story out there talking about. Not the most consequential news story. It's not a Gaza story. It's not a Ukrainian story. It's not an American domestic story. It's not a Canada 51st state story. But it's something that people are talking about. And that is the role of the Conversation Project, to talk about all things, or leave all things up on the table to be talked about, pulling what the best stories are and just doing what we can. Now, we're going to literally talk in moments about doing that. So, but if this is a story that you are disturbed by, you want less Kanye and, I don't know, more OF stuff, because you guys seem like that as well, let me know via emails, via comments, what we should be talking about. And if a story that we may have picked out from yesterday that you may have actually pegged as something conversational didn't make the cut, we can talk about that. Great transition into the conversations teaser section. And this is how the stories we picked for today got picked for today. What we actually do is we post you news article headlines all day long. There was an article out yesterday, day before, about news influencers, how they're out there on the news, especially on TikTok, talking about news articles right there. But they also talk about the fact that they aren't reporters. They're not out there, with a team of folks pulling things down. They're just reading from other sources, and they're reading news articles to you and giving you some insight on those. That's what I am, essentially, giving you articles that you can engage in, and we get the news from them. Now, we put the article links out there, and you are also a news influencer because you influence this news. Every 50 minutes or so, we post articles on Facebook and X. Facebook.com/This is the Conversation Project, X.com/TH_conversation. When we do that, we're looking for you to engage in the stories. And the more engagement you give to the story, better chance we have of talking about it, because you're telling me it is conversational. That's how this becomes a dialogue and not a monologue. So like the story, hate the story, engage in story, share the story, comment in the story, do what you can to engage in that link on Facebook or X, facebook.com/This Is the Conversation Project, x.com/th_conversation. And we will take top stories and give them to you. Literally top stories. 15 of the top 30 stories in the day will be in tomorrow. Will be up for grabs for tomorrow's show, where we'll take 8 of those stories for time-wise stuff. And if you don't like the stories you pick, engage with me on that as well. Today's story is a story that's actually what I've seen a few days ago, but it takes a little while for some of these things to trickle down. Steve Bannon did an interview with Chris Cuomo on his podcast after he did the interview with Gavin Newsom, and it was more or less say, hey, Chris Cuomo was kind of jumping on the bandwagon, sort of, but Bannon's in the news and Bannon's did the Gavin thing, so it's more of a follow-up on that one. Steve Bannon made an unsettling prediction, so says the headline, for Trump in 2028. The prediction is Trump's going to run for president in 2028. I want to talk about that. I really want to talk about that. No one's really said that other than the fact that Trump is sort of hinting at it. And of course, there was that omnibus message about in next election, don't worry about it, we have it covered. What does that actually mean? Steve Bannon saying the quiet parts out loud, really loud. So I want to talk about it. But we only talk about it in this forum if you want to talk about it. So you let me know by your engagement on the story. This is going to take a while to post. This one, we have a lot of things posted in the queue because I got a kind of busy day. This one's not coming out to around 11 o'clock Central Time, so it'll be a while if you can get to this one. But it's bubbling. It's there. When you check your feeds, you may have to go look for it. But if you're a person who watches on a replay, it should be out there well by the time you check it out this afternoon. Let's move on to our sponsor for the day, which once again is me and More Better Media, the book side of that one. And this is 100 Daily Affirmations for Positivity and Confidence. This is a book on affirmations. It's a very simple book, but it's a very complex in the way it's presented book. It's not just a list of things to say, because then it'd be a really short book of lists. It's a list of 100 different affirmations that I wrote down. I created. I did some, I'll be honest, we did a little chat GPT reworking and did some things to get some topics, but we took some topics, we wrote them down, we edited them down to get these 100 affirmations for you. So they are written by, with a little help of some AI to get them all done, but they are written specifically for you, and they're all more or less unique. Saying the same thing 100 times, it gets a little bit of repetitiveness, so some of the words are a bit going back and forth. But the real work I did in this one was coming up with different actual reasons for why these affirmations work. It's not just, here's a list of things that are nice and positive. It's, here's a thing that's nice and positive you could use, and why. It may help you feel better in the near term. It may help you feel better in the long term because it brings things up there. It may help you engage more people going forward. It may do something that the act may be something that actually has you put yourself out there for the world. There are the reasons behind the affirmation, why they work. And of course, there's the first opening is why they work and why they may not work for you, and the ask to give it a try. Plus the big disclaimer that no, it may not be perfect. So write your own affirmation, edit it as you need to, and use it for whatever works for you. Check it out on Amazon via paperback or Kindle version, $10 for paperback and $5 for Kindle. You can get it there. You can also find it in various other bookstores online as well. I can't guarantee those prices unless you get them from Amazon.com, and you'll get them pretty quickly. The link to the book is on the description of this here program, so it's in there right there. You can also just search 100 Daily Affirmations Pain, and you will get it right there. As you see, if you're watching the video, you see that old man's face. This is nobody. It's just stock photography. A person that looked wise, so I thought it looked great for the cover, on 100 Daily Affirmations for Positivity and Confidence. Conversation Project lives online at thisistheconversationproject.com. Our home online is where you can find all the stuff and all the calls to action that we have. We ask you to stop by every so often and just see what's happening. We add different new sponsors there to check out. So there's a sponsor there you like, you buy from them. It's affiliate link. We get a little bit of commission for back to help things go here. If you finally decided that we are worthy of your time as a patron, as a partner, click on the partnership page and you can join there. You can also click the join part on the YouTube if you watch there and join via the membership program there as well. You can see past episodes, how we're doing, how we've done, what we've done going back and forth. You can see why we do this in our origin story. You can find other places to follow us there as well. All these things and more at the Conversation Project website. This is theconversationproject.com. We're going to wrap it up for this Thursday. It's March the 20th, 2025, and just kind of get into it. We're still working for those folks who got here went this long with this and wonder why things are working they are. We're still working the best we can to try to get things more pithy. That means less ad-libbing, obviously. Today I did a bunch of ad-libbing on things that really went a bit long, so apology for that. And tightening up the scripts a little bit, getting the robot editor to get it down to a couple less sentences so there's less to read, more time to get in there. And still getting the gist of the news. Our function, our goal, our mission is to give you interesting news, conversational news that may have been missed in the big stories here. Now everyone's talking March Madness, so that's going to be a big thing here because you've got to do that. But stories that are a bit heavy hitting, or some things that seem a little lighter, but may hit you little places that like in the heart. Jackie Robinson's story was one that was kind of like, yeah, we've done plenty of these. DEI is erasing pictures and history of things, but here's another example of government efficiency erasing literal history on the day that we expect the Department of Education to start dismantling itself. I speaking a bit in code, but not. I hope you don't. I hope you get. So in the meantime, if you're enjoying me as a news influencer, we thank you so much for doing that. Keep us going and keep influencing me and yourselves with news. Follow us on our feeds on Facebook and X and help me pick the stories for each and every day here for the Conversation Project. Consider being a partner and helping us grow this thing here, and make sure you're staying hydrated and limber and on task for all the grand things you're here to do here on this planet. Life is a marathon. Do not try to turn it into a sprint. Love you. Mean it. We are well past time, so we're going to wrap this thing up right now. We'll do a no more edition to wrap up the week for a Friday edition of things you might have heard coming tomorrow.